Hello, everyone. Welcome to another video. Welcome to Tips and Scripts for Living the Caregiver's Life. If this is your first time joining, I hope that you will press that subscribe button, that you will press a like button if this blesses you. I pray that you will share it if this blesses you. I have something to share with you today that I think that you can certainly relate to. I know I can. And in fact, sometimes I feel like I'm here these days. We sometimes wonder if we are on track. Are we on track with what life is supposed to be? Are we on track with what God has told us that we're supposed to be doing in our lives? That is the question. And before I continue, I want to let you know that I'm looking at two different cameras. I'm trying to record in two different locations. And so if you see me looking up and you see me looking down, I'm looking at two cameras. So you won't be wondering, why are her eyes rolling all over the place? Well, that's why I'm trying to look at two different devices, trying something new. So I want to talk about, are you on track? Am I on track? That's the question. Am I on track with what God has told me to do? You know, sometimes it's hard enough knowing what God told you to do. It's sometimes hard to know if you heard him right. And, that's one thing. And then when you feel like you've heard him right and you know he's told you to do something and you start off and then you wonder, well, why aren't things moving? Am I on the right track? So it's a question that we oftentimes ask ourselves. And it's a question that we really do need to ask ourselves from time to time. So I'm going to read a couple of things to you. And in it, there are scriptures. And I won't keep you long today. So I pray that this is a blessing to you. I pray that it will help you in some way. So the first is this, when we're not sure if we're on the right track, we feel like sometimes that we're stagnant, that we're in limbo. So, what do we do? So here's the question, and I'm just going to read this to you. It says, has God, and this is a devotional that I wrote. I've written many devotionals, and I'm actually going to be sharing two devotionals with you. And the first one is called Living in Limbo. The second one, you'll find out in a minute what it means. But I wrote them on two different occasions, but they're basically the same thing. And I take it that was a period in my life when I was wondering these things. So I know that you can relate. So the first one is called Living in Limbo. Has God promised you something and you have yet to see the manifestation of it? Abraham was told to leave all comforts of home and family and go to a place God would show him. In Hebrews 11th chapter, verses 8 through 10, it says, we see that by faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. Verse 9, by faith he dwelt in the land of promise as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Here is the kicker. Abraham was just told to go. Well, y'all, he didn't know where he was going. There was no map. There was no address. The only plan was to follow the voice of God. He did not know where he was going, but he knew who he was following, and he trusted him. He lived in tents. He lived in limbo for years. This took faith, an enduring faith, and a constant exercise of faith. Living in limbo is not easy. You are on a limb every day, hanging on to what God told you would be, but you don't see it. For a while you are here, and then you hear his still, quiet voice telling you to go there, only to pitch another tent because he says, no, this is not yet. This is not yet it. Trust me, he says. You know he's taking you somewhere, but you are still in a tent with no foundation. Does this describe your life right now? Be encouraged. Know that as you go from tent to tent, not knowing where you are going, your faith is the foundation you carry with you while living in limbo. Keep going with what you know to do as you are led by God. No, it's not easy living in limbo. You never know how long you will be in one tent from the next. nor do you know how long it will be before you get to where you don't know. Keep your faith. Listen carefully to his voice as you go forward. You will get there with his help. Lean on him and not on your own understanding, and he will tell you when and show you where to go. Each step is an exercise of your faith and a manifestation of God's faithfulness in taking care of you while you are living in limbo. You know that passage in Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, it's verses 5-6. And it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Acknowledge him in all your ways. Lean not to your own understanding, and he will make your path straight. But here's a question I have for you. And this goes into the other devotional that I wrote some time ago. That was, I guess, like I said, a period in time in my life where I was feeling like I was living in limbo and not quite sure if I was on the right track. Well, that passage, Proverbs 3, verses 5-6, it talks about being on a path, on a straight path. Well, here's the thing. The title of this one is called Walking Straight on Crooked Paths. You see, God makes your path straight, but sometimes the path looks a little crooked. So this is how this one went. And it's Isaiah 42, verse 16. I will bring the blind by a way that they did not know. I will lead them in paths they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, a crooked places straight. These things I will do for them and not forsake them. It can be frustrating when you know where you want to go in life and you are doing everything you know to do to get there. You have asked God to direct you, and you feel in your heart that he is, but his paths don't seem to be the right ones. They look crooked. They don't make sense. They look hard. They look like they will take longer to get there. They don't feel right. Oh my gosh, have you ever been there? Oh my gosh. They don't feel right. You feel lost. Have you ever been there? Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm sure somebody knows what I'm talking about. You may see another path as you're walking that looks right and it makes sense, right? So you take it. But now you are indeed lost. You really lost. You don't know where you're going. Here's the thing. The paths in life God may have us to take may seem crooked, but they are actually straight. Walking straight on crooked paths require us to do as Paul said in the 2 Corinthians verse 5-7. It says this, for we walk by faith and not by sight. Y'all know that famous passage. We walk by faith, not by sight. Well, walking with God is always walking in a straight line. You know, it may look crooked, but it is the right way. Walking by sight is always walking in circles, and the path is indeed crooked sometimes, leading to constant wrong ways and dead ends. So in other words, when we are walking by sight, we're actually walking in circles. When we're walking by faith, God's ways may seem a little crooked. They may look a little hard. They may not feel right. You may feel lost. You may feel like you are on the wrong track. But perhaps maybe you've got off track. Now, again, you may have gotten off track. And it's good to ask yourselves. It's good to ask ourselves, am I on the right track? But if you know that you've heard from God and you know that you have started off on the right track, it may not feel right. Check with God. Check with him. Do a check. Lord, am I on the right path? Am I really leaning on my own understanding, or am I leaning on yours? If you're leaning on yours, you are off track. You are walking in circles, and you are indeed walking on a crooked path. Remember, Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Acknowledge him in all your ways. Lean not to your own understanding. And I may have switch that up a little bit. Sometimes I get a little mixed up. But the fact is, when we lean not on our own understanding, if we trust him with our whole heart, if we acknowledge him in all our ways, he will make our path straight. It may seem crooked, but they're straight. So to follow God is always walking in a straight line, even if it may seem crooked, even if it may seem like it just don't make no sense. So here's the thing, be encouraged. The paths God is leading you to take, it indeed may seem crooked, but just keep on trusting God. Keep on trusting him and keep walking straight on crooked paths. I hope that this has been an encouragement to you. It's something that I think that we all need to do sometimes. We just should ask God, am I on the right track? It may seem like things are stagnant, but as long as you are walking in the way that God said to go. You remember Abraham didn't know where he was going. He didn't have a map. We don't get maps. The only map we get is with every step we take. With each step we take, think about this, with the GPS, you may actually get some idea as to how your journey is going to go. This is the case with God. We know that it's going to be a little rocky sometimes, but here's the thing. He is with us all the time. So we know that even though we may not exactly know where we're going or how to get there, we know that as long as we listen to the voice of God, he is going to lead us. He's going to tell us which turns to take as we make the steps. So even as we're listening to a GPS system, we don't get 2 and 3 directions as to where to turn so many steps ahead, right? So it's the same thing with God. He's not going to tell us, well, when you get here, then when you get there, then you get there, you turn there and you go there. No, he does one step at a time. But we can't get the next step until we take the turn. So it's the same thing with God, the GPS system, the same thing. He is our God point system, okay? He is the way that we have to follow, but we have to at least get started. So if you know that you've gotten started, it may look like you're feeling like you're a little lost. Just do a check-in and say, hey, am I on the right track, God? Am I on the right path? This looks a little crooked, but I'm going to keep trusting in you. I'm going to keep going the way since you're telling me to go. Touch base with them, check in with them. And he will say, hey, you're on the right track. Or, hey, no, you need to back up. Hey, you need to go back, turn around, make a U-turn. God is so good. He is the best GPS tracking system we could ever have. So I just want to encourage you today. I pray that this has been a good message for you today. And whatever time, whatever day that you are watching this, take it to heart. And please, again, if it has been a blessing to you, share it with somebody. Make sure you make sure you comment. Let me know what you think about this. Perhaps you're going through something. If you need prayer, put it in the comments. We'll pray together. I'll pray with you. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, hey, there he is in the midst. And when we're asking things according to his will, it will be. So just trust God. Be patient too, because sometimes we have to be in a certain place before we get our next step. And it feels like we're going from tent to tent like Abraham did. But here's the thing, wherever you go, as long as God is with you in your tent with you, you're good to go. You're all right. You're on track. So I pray this has been a blessing to you. Again, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share. And again, be blessed. Until the next video, take care now. Bye.